Megadeth just announced they're going to be reuniting with their Rust in Peace era guitarist Marty Friedman for one night only later this month in Tokyo. And that show will be live streamed around the world. You can get more information at megadeth.com. And now, during a recent interview with Guitar World, Dave Mustaine, as he's known to do, spoke very openly and candidly about his relationship with Metallica. We know that Dave has really wanted to once again collaborate with Metallica. He knows and sincerely believes that him and James could make some crazy music together. But on the other hand, it doesn't really seem like James Hetfield is anyway remotely interested, which is what Dave Mustaine essentially alludes to during this interview. Before we continue, we have a lot of returning viewers. Most of you have not yet subscribed. If you could take just a quick second to hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. So Dave Mustaine spoke to Guitar World, and he said that he doesn't know what the problem is with Metallica, why they don't want to perform or work together. And he says it must be an issue with them. It can't be an issue with him. This is what he had to say. He said, "In my mind, there is no competition between Megadeth and Metallica. We're different bands, and I believe Megadeth has been more consistent. But the sad thing is that the drama between us has been more popular than the music ever was. And remember, Metallica got a big head start, and they did so on the back of what I helped create. They became one of the biggest bands in the world. And here's one of the biggest bands wasting their breath trying to discredit me by saying, Dave's not a good guitar player. Excuse me, what the fuck did you say? I think I wrote many of the songs that made you famous. So you probably should recheck that bullshit statement. But this is the shit those guys say, and you've got the sheep who follow them around believing it." And then he was asked who he thinks is perpetrating these issues between Megadeth and Metallica, to which he says, "The issue is that people don't know their history and take sides. I never wanted to take sides. I wanted things to be reconciled and to be friends, but for whatever reason, they didn't. And Metallica is represented by the same agent as Megadeth. And I've asked our agent, you're Metallica's agent too. Why won't those guys play with us? What are they afraid of? And they've confirmed they're going out with Five Finger Death Punch and the Pantera thing, so it's clearly about the money. The fact is simple. The world wants to see Megadeth and Metallica play together. And in case anyone is wondering, there's fucking money in that. He's not wrong about that. The fans want to see Metallica and Megadeth share the stage. Does Megadeth need Metallica? No. But Metallica talks about their fans, but they don't give them what they've been asking for. What are they afraid of? I don't know. It's not me. It's them." He then goes on to speak about the influence he's had over Metallica. He says, "In the early days, I was the only guitar player in the band and wrote some of the songs that ended up on their earlier records. So for a guy who couldn't play guitar, I sure did fucking influence things. The only reason James even played guitar early on was that we couldn't find anyone else. So was it that I couldn't play guitar? We had one guy named Brad Parker, whose real name was Damian Phillips. He showed up and he had an oversized feather earring. We did one show and that was the end of him. And that's why we ended up having James play guitar. There was no other reason. Also early on, James was terrified to talk to the crowd, and I would look at him and say, talk, man, get up there and fucking talk. But James didn't do it. He stayed in the background, and so he's this fucking singer. So I, the guy who can't play guitar, went up to the mic and started talking. That's how it was until I left. James only started talking to the audience after I left. He had no choice. You hear it on the tapes from those shows we did in San Francisco and Waldorf and the Stone. I did all the talking, and most of what I said on stage was things James would copy after that, after I left. So how do I view my influence on Metallica? It's pretty fucking deep." Dave Mustaine obviously wants there to be more Big Four shows, or at least shows with Megadeth and Metallica together. But I'm not so sure this is the most effective way to make that happen. I don't think that the members of Metallica are going to appreciate some of the things he's saying, and it's probably going to drive them further apart. Of course, the Big Four consists of Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, and Anthrax. Slayer has already retired. Although Kerry King has said he really does not like being retired. Maybe one day they could reconsider. I do think that the drawback for them was the extensive touring they were doing. And maybe, you know, if you look at Metallica's touring schedule these days, it's still a difficult schedule, no question, but they do have a lot more days off baked into their schedule, which I think they've earned at this point. The first Big Four show was in June of 2010 in Warsaw, Poland, and the last one was in 2014. Mustaine was asked about whether or not he would want to do more Big Four shows in an interview in November 2022. He said, "I really think it's time for the guys in Metallica to step up and do us one last round, see if we can get Slayer to come out of retirement and do a Big Four, passing the torch to a new Big Four. It would remain to be seen who they are. I think it would be really cool symbolically if we did something like that, like at the LA Coliseum, even if it's one show and that's it. Slayer is from Los Angeles, so it'd probably make more convenient for them to go home at night." Now, so here's the thing about Dave Mustaine. Again, one thing, he makes a great point here in saying that, you know, there is a lot of money in Metallica and Megadeth doing shows together. That's for sure. He's not wrong about that. I think a lot of Metallica, I think a lot of you in the comments are going to go, this isn't going to happen. Why are we even talking about it? But if it did happen, would you go see it? Yes, you probably would go see it. I know I would go see it. I know I'm going to go see it. So he's not wrong. I think his delivery is probably not very effective. I don't know. I don't know that James Hetfield's going to read this interview and go, yeah, I got to give this guy a call and work with him. I mean, we got little James here from the shelf. He's not the real James, obviously, but, you know, you can kind of tell. Look at his face. He's obviously not very happy about what Dave had to say about him, and this isn't even the real James. This is just Lil James. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon unless Dave Mustaine maybe changes his delivery with the members of the band. But he's also said he's tried texting James and hasn't gotten through that way. But let me tell you this. I honestly do respect Dave Mustaine for going out here. He's obviously making an effort and trying really hard to make these shows come to life. If the Big Four does come back, a big reason is because Dave Mustaine, whether you like how he says this or not, has fought very hard to at least try to make this happen, and I genuinely do respect that. So I hope it does happen. But either way, you know, we're going to get this badass Megadeth live stream taking place from Tokyo later this month with the return of Marty Friedman. Doesn't get much cooler than that. So that's exciting. You can get tickets to that live stream at Megadeth.com. And of course, the mighty Metallica is hitting the road. Yes, indeed, with Pantera, Five Finger Death Punch. They're doing stadiums. That is going to be absolutely wild. You can get your tickets to that, of course, at Metallica.com.